It's apparently happy news that we're maybe going to see some of our lifestyle options returning with the talk now of sort of a few weeks from now. The National Cabinet may allow us to venture out and see people. I don't know about you, Bronwyn, but somebody said to me yesterday, and it summed it up really well, they actually miss the ability to, hug a friend, to say hello, and this a whole sort of elbow handshaking thing is, we're willing to do it, but we're also hoping there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a train, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, Gary, I think the problems are bigger than that. We really do feel that we're in the dark. A few weeks, maybe we will be able to hug a friend, but what we've really got to be alert to and make sure happens is that we have to have individual freedom returned, we have to have our liberties returned, we have to pursue policies of free enterprise. There will be socialists who want to try and keep government intervention, big government, big taxation policies, and that all has to be resisted. We have to have policies that will come back when we come out of this lockdown period, where people who want to restart their businesses or start new businesses are able to do so, that we start to repeal legislation and regulation, that we enable people to have their talents used, and that they are willing to employ people and make profits and create new jobs. This is the sort of agenda where I'm looking to hear about, and we're not hearing it yet. We're hearing about how many people have got the disease, how many people have died from it and so on, which is tragic for those who are passing away from it. But we need to hear what the future is, how we're going to get out of the mess that we're in now, because the country's in trouble.
Well, it is, and I mean, all I'm worried about, Colin Tinknell, is that some people, when they've told, oh, well, in a few weeks' time you're able to have a picnic in the park, they'll think, oh, well, that's good. It's all over. There's no problems anymore. And so to Bronwyn's point, we run this real risk of people just think, oh, well, that's it. We've dodged that bullet. We're OK now. We don't have to do anything different.
Yeah, Bronwyn painted the big picture really well, and they're the things that we need to get back to. I think on a lower scale, if you like, we see elders in centres now having a problem because they've been locked away from relations visiting them. So there's a lot of, I suppose, confusion's been created. But I suppose most of all, people have got to get back to work. That's the most important thing. I think we've still got to, I think when the government makes those changes, and each state will be slightly different because they have a different issue in each state, I think that they'll gradually allow certain businesses to open up, and others maybe they'll like a front bar at a pub's going to not be open for a while, I'd imagine, but certain restaurants with a bit of distance in between may be opened. And I think that'll get us back to some normality. But it's going to be slow, and I think they're going to need 2 weeks between each phase to measure the results, so they know that there's no situation like happened in Singapore where it got worse again once they opened it up.
Well, I mean, this is part of the problem, James McGrath. People being people will rush to think, oh, good, I can go and do what I darn well like now. And yet, to Bronwyn's point again, getting the fundamentals right as we go forward, rather than trying to get back to basics or get back to the way it was, getting the taxes lower, getting our freedoms enhanced, allowing people, trusting people, government getting out of people's lives, I think are the sort of things we should be doing more of. I'm sure you feel the same way. What are we going to do?
I passionately agree with what Bronwyn has said and what you said there, Gary, in relation to getting our freedoms returned to us. There is a big danger, knowing what my fellow Australians are like. If we've said, look, we can all go out and play now, we will all go out and play and we'll all give each other cuddles, and suddenly we'll have that second wave of coronavirus come through. So, the government, we've got to keep taking it slowly and take the advice of the medical professionals. But we've got to make sure, and I'm part of the government, I'm a backbencher there, we've got to make sure that the National Cabinet ensure that our freedoms in relation to opening businesses, starting businesses, employing staff are returned to us. But more importantly, we've got to make sure that we cut taxes and we use, I want to say use the opportunity of coronavirus, because that's the wrong language, but use this time to think about the Australia that we want in 6 months' time. I don't want an Australia with more red tape, with higher taxes, and spending out of control, so our grandchildren's grandchildren are paying off the debt. I want to make sure that to help restart Australia, when we put those charges on the battery, that taxes are cut, and that the Treasurer today gave, I thought, a pretty strong indication that he was leaning towards cutting taxes rather than increasing taxes. But we've also got to look at the government spending in the medium to long term. The government's done a pretty good job in stopping Australia from going over the cliff. Remember over in America, and I know, Bronwyn, you don't like the negative facts here, but I was listening to the news this morning, 26 million Americans have lost their jobs in the last month or so. So more than the population of Australia have lost their jobs. So there's some big waves overseas, and we've got to protect Fortress Australia here by using our traditional values.
But of course,